The ocean had its own language, but pirates spoke one even darker. It wasn't written in ink or spoken aloud. It was whispered in rum-soaked taverns, carved into wood, marked in blood, and sung through the creak of ship timbers. Every pirate crew had its code, not just rules, but survival spells. Because in the world they lived in, one wrong word could get you hanged, or worse, marooned, left to die under the sun, your tongue swollen, your mind unraveling. But the code wasn't only about silence, it was about understanding. A pirate's words could mean a dozen different things, depending on who was listening. To outsiders, it sounded like drunken nonsense, slurred laughter, wild songs, and strange phrases. To those who knew the code, it was a map to loyalty, to betrayal, to hidden treasure. The language of shadows. A pirate never said what he meant, not directly. They spoke in riddles, metaphors, and signs. A candle left burning in the captain's quarters meant mutiny brewing. A black feather tied to a mast meant to deal with death itself. And when a crew sang the widow's lament, it wasn't music. It was a funeral announcement before the killing started. The sea demanded secrecy. There were spies in every port, British informants, bounty hunters, even priests trading absolution for silver. So pirates invented ways to speak beneath the sound of speech. Their tattoos became messages. Their jewelry became signals. Even the way they tied a knot could tell a story. A red thread, woven into a rope, meant loyalty to the captain until death. A black one meant loyalty only to gold. An afraid one? That was a warning. Someone's about to break. Ciphers of the deep. Some captains went further. They created written codes, symbols that only their quartermasters could read. A small circle inside a triangle could mean safe harbor. Two triangles crossing could mean betrayal aboard. And when the code showed three circles joined by a single line, that meant something far more dangerous. It meant the dead were watching. These codes weren't superstition, they were protection. Pirate crews were constantly hunted, even by their own kind. If a message fell into the wrong hands, the gallows awaited. So they layered their language, part myth, part mathematics, part madness. Rumors tell of a ship called the Spectre's Mark whose captain wrote an entire journal in code, so complex that even after his death, no one could read it. Some said it contained a map to an island that moves. Others said it wasn't a map at all, but a curse written in numbers. Whatever it was, the book was last seen floating off Madagascar, pages dry despite the rain. Words with teeth, pirates didn't only use code to hide, they used it to kill. A single phrase could be an execution order. When a captain said, "Set the lanterns low," it meant someone dies tonight. When he said, "Let Neptune feast," it meant throw him overboard alive. And when the cook said, "The stew tastes bitter," the entire crew went silent. That meant poison. Language was their weapon, sharper than a cutlass, quieter than a pistol. Because anyone can kill a man's body. Only words can kill a man's soul. The Brotherhood's oath. Every crew had a ritual. Before a voyage, before a raid, they would gather in a circle under the moon. Each man would prick his finger, letting a drop of blood fall into a bowl of rum. They would trick in silence, that the captain would speak the oath. By the wind that carries us and the tide that buries us, we speak no truth to the crown, no mercy to the traitor, and no word of what's buried shall pass these lips. Those who broke the oath weren't killed. They were erased. Their names scratched from the ship's log, their faces forgotten, their hammocks burned. To the sea, they became ghosts, not dead, but unremembered. And the ocean, they said, remembers everything. Tavern tongues, even on land, the pirate code lived on. In the ports of Tortuga, Nassau, and Port Royal, pirates spoke in riddles so tavern keepers could understand without a word. A man ordering a blind ale meant he was looking for a smuggler. A request for 3 saints dancing meant he was hiring killers. And when a stranger dropped a silver coin and didn't pick it up, it meant run. Whole taverns ran on code, a silent symphony of looks, gestures, and half-smiles. Those who didn't understand usually didn't live long enough to learn. The code that outlived the pirates. When piracy began to die. When the British hanged men by the dozens at dawn, the code didn't vanish. It went underground. Smugglers, revolutionaries, secret societies, they all borrowed pieces of it. The skull and bones symbol didn't begin as death's emblem. It began as a warning, the Brotherhood still breathes. Even modern sailors, unknowingly, echo pirate speech. Phrases like 3 sheets to the wind or no quarter given come from that same coded world. The language of rebellion disguised as madness, a whisper that survived the hangman's rope. The unbroken cipher. Some historians believe one pirate code was never broken, a final message left carved into driftwood, found near the Caribbean in 1718. It read only 4 words: "The sea keeps secrets." No one knew what it meant. Some thought it was a warning. Others believed it was a confession. But those who truly understood the pirate wave say it wasn't either. It was a statement of faith, because pirates didn't believe in gods or kings. They believed in the ocean, the only force that couldn't be bribed or broken. Their code, like the tide, had no master. It flowed, it hid, it endured. And maybe that's the final secret of the pirate tongue, that even when their bones rotted, their words didn't die. They became whispers in the storm, voices in the waves, signals only the mad can hear. So when the sea howls at night, and the wind carries laughter with no ship in sight, listen closely. You might not understand the words, but you'll feel their meaning. Because the code isn't meant to be read, it's meant to be felt. Epilogue, the tongue of the deep. Every code has a key. But the pirate's code was different. Its key was trust, and trust was the rarest treasure of all. That's why so few ever found it. And maybe, somewhere out there, beneath the waves, a captain still whispers it to his crew. His voice lost in the wind, his words sinking into the dark. The sea keeps secrets, and it always will. The final layer of the code. There was one last secret, one that no written record ever captured. Pirates didn't just use code to hide from kings or rivals. They used it to hide from themselves. Every sailor carried ghosts of men they'd killed, ships they'd burned, villages they'd raided. And so they buried their guilt beneath metaphors. They called blood wine, firelight, and death sleep. Their language became a wall, a way to confess without confessing. When a pirate muttered, "The winds turned black," it didn't mean a storm. It meant someone's lost his soul. And when a man said, "The compass spins," that meant he no longer knew who he was. Their words became medicine for madness, coded prayers to survive what the sea demanded of them. The whispering dead. Sailors swore that the dead spoke in code too. When the waves changed rhythm at night, or when the ship's ropes creaked with no wind, the old hands would whisper, "They're talking again." The ghosts of drowned pirates, they said, still guarded their secrets, warning the living in that same hidden tongue. A gull screaming thrice meant danger near. A rope snapping on a calm night meant betrayal aboard. And if you ever heard footsteps on deck when everyone was asleep, you never went to sea. The code wasn't only between men. It was a dialogue with the deep itself. The code never died. Centuries passed. The gallows rotted. The ships sank. But the code, it lived on. Some say you can still hear fragments of it in modern sailors' slang and smugglers' chants, even in secret brotherhoods who never call themselves pirates. The meaning shifted, but the spirit didn't. It's the same darkness wrapped in loyalty, a vow to stand with your crew, even when the world calls you damned. And maybe that's why the code still matters. Because it wasn't just about hiding words. It was about keeping something human alive in a world ruled by greed, steel, and storm. A pirate's code was never written to be understood. It was written to survive. The last message. One final phrase was found carved into a shattered plank, washed ashore after a hurricane off Nassau. It read, "Those who speak true drown first." Simple, brutal, perfectly pirate. It was the last warning from men who knew the cost of honesty on the open sea. Because to live as a pirate was to live in lies, beautiful, necessary lies, woven so tightly they became truth. And if you ever sail where the water runs black and silent, you might feel it. The old words, whispering under the waves. Not English, not any language we know. But you'll understand them anyway. Because the code of pirates was never about speech. It was about the soul, and the ocean still remembers every syllable.